Hi everyone, we'll just give it a couple more seconds while people join, and then we'll get started. Hi everyone, on behalf of the Southeast New England Program Network, welcome to our webinar titled Accessible Manuals Pocket Guides. The purpose of the SNEP Network webinar series is to showcase the work of our partners and share our regional case studies and emerging topics and resources relevant to the SNEP region. We are grateful to have this opportunity to share this important work with communities in this region. My name is Leah Soloway. I'm the SNP Network Program Coordinator located at the New England Environmental Finance Center, and I'll be managing logistics for today's program. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce and provide you all with a little background about the SNP Network and the SNP region. The SNP Network is a technical assistance and training program that is led by the New England Environmental Finance Center, which is a regional technical assistance provider for EPA Region 1. The SNP Network's mission is to empower communities to achieve healthy watersheds, sustainable financing, and long-term climate resilience through the management of stormwater and restoration projects. We focus on building local capacity by providing no-cost trainings, webinars, and hands-on technical assistance to communities in the SNP region. The SNP Network is funded by the Southeast New England Program, or SNEP, which is a bi-state initiative of EPA Region 1 that supports clean water, healthy ecosystems, and sustainable communities across Southeast Massachusetts and Rhode Island. If you'd like to learn more about the SNP Network, please visit our website, snepnetwork.org. And before we begin the webinar, there are a few logistics to keep in mind. First, everyone will be on mute to ensure audio quality. At the end of the webinar, there'll be a Q&A session. You'll be able to ask questions by typing them into the Q&A box on your Zoom control panel. We look forward to answering questions, so please type them in at any time. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording, along with the associated materials, will be sent after the webinar to the participants and will be available on our website. And now I'd like to hand things over and introduce Jade Pennington, Senior Program Manager with Groundwork South Coast. And I will stop sharing my presentation, and Jade, I'll get yours queued up.
Thank you, Leah.
And go. And Jade, can you see that? Is it full screen now?
Okay.
Great.
So hello everybody. I am Jade Pennington. I am the Senior Programs Manager at Groundwork South Coast. And if you would like to, I'm just gonna put in a link to our website if you want to know more. I'm going to give like a little brief of like who we are. So today we'll be presenting on how to create accessible manuals for workforce. And before I dive completely into that and giving a little bit of background on Groundwork South Coast, I want to thank the SNEP Network for making this possible, because without previous funding to be able to have our workforce do stewardship work and doing trailscape work in the area that we work in, we wouldn't have been able to make a manual, and therefore we wouldn't have thought of making pocket guides, which again, I want to thank SNEP Network that funding that was provided to us to be able to create these pocket guides. So just a little bit background on Groundwork South Coast. We work in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and we have two primary workforces. That one is called Green Team, which is 14 to 18, and then we have another workforce team, which is Green Corps, which is 18 to 30. And these what I'm presenting on is basically manuals that were turned into pocket guides for training to be more accessible for all levels of learning. Leah, if you could go to the next slide. So The reality of training with workforce, like I mentioned before, we have two different workforces of different levels of skill, different levels of experience in the world as they're range from 14 to 18. Um, is that one training doesn't fit all, and navigating working with youth in training and completion of work is not linear. And so the reality is that we stop our own work so that we can be there for the youth. Um, we have to supervise every task or feel a need to supervise every task and be there in the field with them. And repeating instructions and answering the same questions are inevitable. That is just the reality of training. It is what it is. But we asked ourselves, so what could we do about it? So if Leah, you could go to the next slide. Now that we have identified the obstacles, why does this matter? Why is it important to make this matter? And according to the National Skills Coalition, 53% of jobs require middle skills training. So, what is middle skills? Middle skills are any training that ends with a people end up with a certification. Um, if you think about trades being certified through OSHA, first aid, CPR, any job specific training, 53% of jobs require all of those certifications and training. Um, and 43% it's been proven that 43% of trained workers have an accessible pathway to have successful careers. So that is why it matters. And so then we asked ourselves, well, we have identified our obstacles in training our youth. So then what can we do about it? Leah, you can go to the next slide. Training isn't one size fits all. Like I said before, training youth is not linear, and everybody learns differently. So we have visual learners, reading and writing learners, verbal learners, and hands-on learners. Written manuals alone do not meet every learner's needs and where they are in their level of skill. So identifying our youth's um, different ways of learning is was really important for us to understand how we can create a create from our manuals something that is more accessible. So understanding what these different learning styles look like and how to approach them. You can go to the next slide. So we asked ourselves, what if training could happen without taking away from your own work? So without having to feel the need to be there um, in the field, and what would it actually look like? So could it be visual? Could it fit in a pocket or fit in a backpack? And could it reduce the time to execute tasks? And could it protect the quality of work? You can go to the next slide. So we identified what is it that manuals have that pocket guides don't have. And I do want to just state that manuals aren't bad. I think manuals are necessary to be able to um, document a organization's best practice of the work that they do, especially in detail of this is how we do things. However, manuals in general there's a lot of words, a lot of jargon that may not be understood by other youth or other people who are at different levels of learning, and they do not have any visual accompaniment. So, unless you already have the skill to be able to visualize the text and understand a bit about whatever is being covered in the manual, it's very hard to actually comprehend and understand the manuals. So the solution that we found was Pocket Guides. It makes those long manuals into simple instructions, and it allows for digital reporting, and it has visual accompaniment. You can go to the next slide. So I touched a little bit about this, but manuals versus pocket guides. So traditional manuals, again, are great just for best practices and documentation of this is the procedure and how we do things at this place. Um, and traditional manuals are long, they're detailed, they are hard to quickly reference if you're in the field, and they're easy to feel overwhelmed. But again, are great for reviewing overall best practices. Pocket guides have visual accompaniments, they are simple, they're very task specific, and it encourages independence in the workforce. They're easy to use in the field, and most importantly, it's accessible for all skill levels, and all people who have any kind of experience in the work, whether that's years of experience or no experience at all. You can go to the next slide. So here's some examples of the pocket guides that we created. The one all the way to the left is our streetscape maintenance plan. The one after that is our urban agriculture maintenance plan. And then we have our Cook Pond maintenance plan, which is a trail in Fall River. This was um, one of the SNEP network funded work that we had that we were able to even make these pocket guides. So I think that was a good example to put on here because without that we wouldn't have had any of the other pocket guides. And then some of our more recent ones is our tree planting and tree maintenance pocket guides. All of them have a how to use this guide. They all have all those little graphic icons or pictures of the actual sites and what the text is referring to. And then at the bottom, they have a QR code for live reporting, which I will get to soon. You can go to the next slide. So, how did we create the actual creation of these pocket guides? So, all of them start the same. Our workforce is trained through our curriculum, both Green Corps and Green Team. They get training through the curriculum and based off of the manuals and their schedule, which has assigned tasks to each person or for the entirety of the team for the session that they're doing. Um, and then they go and do the work. So our job is to observe them doing the work. And then we take our observations of them doing the work. We break the work into sections. So for each type of work, it's going to be different. For example, streetscaping is different than taking care of trees. So how that looks in a pocket guide is going to be different. So once we've identified each pieces of the work and what makes sense, another example is our urban agriculture maintenance plan. Our pocket guides are broken up by season, so spring, summer, fall, winter, etc., etc. So we go into Canva, we pick the style of format that we want to use. Um, and then we just get to work. So we take the different sections, we make sure that each section has its own like icon or visual accompaniment that is related to what the section is saying. So either it's a step by step. Step one, do this. It'll have an image of whatever that step is referring to, whether it's an actual photo of one of the sites and the work being done by a previous workforce member or through a an icon that shows the same thing as what the step is saying. Um, And then we use plain language. So we try to use language that is understandable and understood for everybody of all levels. And then after we create our draft pocket guide, we test it with the workforce. So the workforce actually go out with these pocket guides. They're tasked, whatever they're tasked for that day in their schedule, whatever was assigned to them. And then they're told to follow the pocket guides, take the pocket guides with them to the work site. They follow the pocket guide as is, and then at the end of the day, they come back to us and they give us feedback of what was missing from it, what didn't make sense, what was hard to understand, what more could we have added or changed, so that we can revise. And then after revision, we deploy the pocket guides with them. We make like a final draft for our fiscal year, and then they use it for that year. And then we collect any feedback over the year and then go back to do another revision each year. You can go to the next slide. So using the pocket guides, once the pocket guides are ready for deployment, like they're ready to just use, um, the workforce take these pocket guides with them to each of the sites for every single pocket guide that we have. We don't have pocket guides for every single site, not quite yet. For that, we would obviously require more funding to be able to create more of these pocket guides. But they take these pocket guides, and once they do the work before they leave the site at the end of the day or at the end of their task, if they're going to go to another site, they scan the QR code and it brings them to a Google form and they fill out the form. It's already kind of not pre-filled out, but the options are just like check boxes, so they're not sitting there writing, um, more focused on writing rather than just doing the work report and leaving. But any of the tasks that they've actually done versus what they were scheduled to do, they do a full work report on, and anything that they find at the site or any interactions they've had with community members at the site, they have an option to be able to put that in the work form. So we get live data. Live reporting means that we can have a dashboard of data of the different layers of information that we get from the form, and any photos that they also submit in the form. So the benefits of these pocket guides is that there's less paperwork, it's all digitalized, and there's less anxiety around the work getting done, understanding how we do things, um, just in terms of the work that we do, what is the procedure that we do. We get immediate feedback from the folks who are actually doing the work, and we can be sure in our quality of work, that it's consistent over across the board for all the work that we do. You can go to the next slide, Leah. So this is just another example of some pocket guides. One that you didn't see before is the second after the Ave cleanup is hydroponics. Um, and then at the bottom is all the seasons for our agriculture, urban farming maintenance plan. And then there's some included photos of our youth holding the pocket guides and using them in the field. You can go to the next slide. So our current assessment is that before, there were constant interruptions to the work, and there was constant repeating of instructions, heavy supervision, and feeling the need to physically direct the work in the field when not all the time that needed to be the case. And then because of being taken away from our work, having inconsistent reporting due to stepping away and losing time to do the things that I need to do, or word of mouth, lack of documentation, lack of consistent documentation, and overall just the quality of execution in the work was inconsistent. And after these pocket guides, in with aid from the manuals and the training from the curriculum, having this tool for them to still refer to accessibly out in the field has made our workforce more independent. There's been consistent guidance across the board for all types of work that we have the pocket guides for. And there's greater confidence in the work getting done, not just for the workforce, but those who are overseeing the work. And live reporting and data collection, which is super helpful and important for reporting on all of the wonderful work that our workforce do, and just general documentation of us getting the work done. And there is now a standardized quality of work. You can go to the next slide. So, what is next? At Groundwork South Coast, we really try to practice equity and having a way of training in the area that we work in, which is New Bedford, Mass. That has a lot we work with a lot of low income, under resourced youth who do not have access to a lot of the a lot of things to make them successful. Through our program and through them working with us, they get the training to be able to be successful in wherever they want to go. So we expose them to different level of skills and different types of work, different jobs that traditionally aren't the paths that are told to us in high school or told to us by our parents. And so having multiple layers of training, going back to the National Skills Coalition data, is really important to have different pathways and identify the different ways that folks learn, especially for those who do not have access to have that pathway of success. And so we're looking at our training to have a manual, to have pocket guides, and our vision is to have follow along videos that align with both the manuals and the pocket guides and the curriculum, to ultimately have an independent workforce. And every person has a different way of learning, so now they have multiple ways to succeed. You can go to the next slide. So that was it. Training shouldn't depend on who's available to explain it, and it should empower every learner to succeed independently. I would gladly love to answer any questions, or if you want to learn more, I did drop the link into the chat if you want to learn more about Groundwork South Coast, and you can always reach out to me to talk more.
I'll stop sharing so we can see each other. And I want to invite, yeah, the attendees, if you have questions, now's the time you can ask questions by using the Q&A box, which is in the Zoom control panel below your screen there. So I'll open that up. I'm seeing there is a question about how they're formatted, if they're one page and are they laminated, and just like the sizing of the pocket guide.
Yeah, so we didn't get them like officially printed out by any specific place, but we used our printer, and we did laminate them ourselves. This is like real life example to like my face. I don't know the actual sizing. It sounds correct. You said 8 by 8.5 inch by 11. I think that's correct. It would fill a whole like um I think it's a a letter format. Um and then it would fit like the whole length of the middle of the paper. Um So I think that's correct. And if there are one page, oh, are they one page? They are not one page. So we have the how to use this winter guide. Um each each pocket guide has a how to use this, and then behind it is at least two pages worth of um like broken down tasks or maintenance that needs to be done at that site during that season. This is specifically for our urban gardening. And we break it down by managing planting plan, maintain soil. So it kind of depends on like the amount of tasks or maintenance that needs to be done at that particular site. Um, for example, our I think our streetscape one for the Ave is two because there's a how to use guide, and then behind it is only one because there's not enough information to go into two. So it kind of depends on also um like how much information are you putting on there and how much do you need to break it down, and do you need to make more than one or do you need to make three of them? The ultimate goal is to make it simple enough that it's easy to reference to, um, because having too many things to carry around and read and then just do the work is kind of hindering the work. And from the feedback of our youth, uh,
Another question came through is that once they're tested in the field, where do you keep them and do you hand them out? Um, and are they in a display?
um, they're not really displayed. They were displayed like on our table. People could walk in when they weren't being used, but our youth, as part of their like gear to go out, we have a safety backpack which has our first aid kit in it. It has all the things that they need for like the day basically. So they're told to bring this with them in their backpack. And if they're not going to put it in the backpack, that one of them is designated to be like the holder of the pocket guide.
Another question came through is how do you know if the info is too much info?
If it's too much info, then the youth will tell us. Um, assuming if we assume that they if it's too much for them, then it's not going to work. So we refer to the feedback that we get from the people who are actually doing the work and who are actually using these. Um, but yeah, generally, if it's too much for me to, if it takes too long to type up and it's already too much text taking up too much of the page, then that's too much. Too much text.
That relates to the next question. But I'd love to hear more about the process of drafting the content and how long does something like this take to create?
So to create one of the draft of these, it didn't take too much time. Once you have like a rhythm of like what format you want to go for, if you want it shorter than how we have it, or how much information or how many pocket guides you're gonna create, it shouldn't take more than like 30 minutes, especially if you already have a manual written out. It takes longer if you don't have identified like procedure of like how things are gonna get done. Um, so I mean it's definitely easier and less time for those who are more tech savvy or into graphic designing because you'd have to find all the graphic icons that you want and then like play around with it. But yeah.
Jade, I have a question. Just I'm curious because maybe some folks want to see them closer up. Is there a way to like share them with others?
I believe we can share like a PDF version of them. But other than that, yeah, that's the only way that we can share them.
Yeah, if someone was really interested to like see one as an example, was just wondering if you would, yeah, have a PDF or something we could share.
Yeah, we can share a PDF version. Canva or some other publishing software. We use Canva. Canva is very fun to use and it's kind of rewarding after working in a lot of documents or taking a break. Playing around in Canva is fun.
Yeah, they look really professional. You guys have a great format, great design team. You do a great job. Yeah, I'll just give it another couple seconds here. We have time if any other questions come through. Um, but I'll remind everybody that we'll send a recording of this webinar to all the participants and the registrants, along with links to resources and links to website, the Groundwork South Coast and SNP Network website, and our emails. You're welcome to reach out, I'm sure, to me for any questions related to SNP Network, and Jade for any questions with Groundwork South Coast and the Pocket Guides. Really neat experience, Jade, to share with us about how this process has worked for you. Really exciting that it's something that you guys have continued and really developed the past few years.
Thank you, Leah. I really want to um, say how grateful we are at Groundwork South Coast for the everything from Snap Network, from just like working with everybody in the network and working with you guys. It's been really great, a great journey. Um,
Yeah,
and
really cool to see the results too. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's been pretty cool to see how everything has come together with these pocket guides and all the great work you guys do with the youth. Um, I'm not seeing any more. Oh, I do see another question that came through. Could you please repeat some of what you said about reporting from the team in the field or feedback?
yeah. So for reporting in the field, let's say at one of our urban garden sites, they take this pocket guide, because this is the urban garden one. And when they're at the site, right before they leave and like close up, because our community garden is fenced in. So before or after they lock up, but like before they leave the actual site to either another site, they go in, you can flip the page, and at the bottom, they literally just like scan the QR code and it brings them to a Google form, and then they fill out that Google form. We made the Google form so that it wasn't just like a bunch of written answers, so that they could just like check box. They did watering for all the gardens, or they did some weeding. Um, that way we can, based off of their schedule, we know that in reality we can't get to everything all the time, and things happen. So we want like live data of if those who oversee the project can't actually be there in the field with them, so that they can do more of like the planning, managing, and coordinating. So then we get to see on the back end while they're reporting it before they leave for the site. Like, let's say, like right now, they're out at a site. I can switch off of Zoom and go into the Google form, and I can literally see what they've done this morning. Any photos that they upload, any the sites that they went to, the tasks that they've completed, and know what they've done. And then for feedback, the way that we model our feedback is at the we have a morning circle and an end of day circle. So at the end of the day, they come back into the office or whatever site they want to meet at, and then they go through like a temp check, and then we we get feedback through positive, delta, and key learning. So they say one thing that went positive for the day, one thing, a delta, which means something that they would have changed or could have seen happen differently, whether that was about how the schedule was arranged, how things were prepped for the work, anything. And then that's also a way for them to give feedback on like any of the tools that they use, whether they're the pocket guides or any of the actual physical tools. They can give feedback of like, oh, this broke. We're gonna need some new tools, or this didn't really state the task that you assigned us in the schedule on the pocket guide. Can we get that fixed? So that's how we get some feedback. And then a key learning is whatever they learned for that day. So it didn't have to be about their work. It could have been they learned something new about their peer. But that's how we get feedback from our youth. and they directly impact any of the revised changes in this.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. Yeah, really nice to hear
I
about
hope
all
that
the
answered the question.
great feedback you get, and just the great field work that happens. And not seeing any other questions. I think Jade, it was either me or you that froze. Now we're good. Do I see any other questions? No, I don't see any other questions. But like I mentioned earlier, we'll follow up with the recording and our emails. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Jade, do you have any final thoughts or words you want to say before we close out?
I do have updated, yeah, I haven't updated of the measurement because I know somebody asked me. I don't know if they're still on here. But it's 8.3 times 11.7 inches, so that's A4 format. For those who wanted to know. And other than that, thank you for attending this webinar and learning more about how to make um, training more accessible and practicing equity.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. Really appreciate you presenting today, and having you speak at a Snap Network webinar. And thank you to all the attendees. We hope you have a great um, end of the morning and rest of your afternoon. And thanks again. We'll close out now. Bye, Jade. Thanks, everyone.